Hey guys, and welcome to another edition of the Most Motion Show. I'm your host, Sarah Pitts. I'm an injury reversal and prevention specialist, and I am working towards making sporting injury a thing of the past. So, today we have a sponsor. Today's sponsor is the free mostmotion account. So any links that you can find that I mention, any videos that I link to on this show, you will find free inside your mostmotion account, and a whole load of other stuff too. So make sure you go and check out those links and get your free account, because there's always new stuff being put in there all the time. So make sure you go and do that. So today's topic is weak glutes. We have two different questions, and the first one is, why is variety so important? Now, if you've heard me say anything before on my videos and stuff like that, it's all about variety of movement, and Chris wants to know why that is so important. So basically, variety is a human need. So you can survive on, let's say, jam sandwiches. You can, children will grow up. If you only fed them jam sandwiches, they would grow up into adults because you're feeding them. Would they have other developmental problems? Probably. You couldn't say for definite, but it's quite likely, because they're not getting in a wide variety of nutrition. Okay, they're not getting the vitamins and minerals they would need from those jam sandwiches. So, in the same way, muscles and your brain need movement in variety of ways to make sure that you're not restricting how your body moves, and you need to strengthen your body when you move in lots of different ways too. So it makes it more robust, it makes it more resilient to injury if you add variety into what you're doing. But also, if you add variety, you're asking your brain to complicate the movement so that when you go back to doing something simple, you can do that very much easier. Okay, you're keeping your joint range nice and wide, so your ability to move in lots of different directions isn't restricted by just practicing the same thing over and over again. Okay, what tends to happen is that your muscles create tightness when you're doing something repeatedly the same again and again. I mean, you've all seen the guys in the gym. Okay, they do push-ups and bicep curls and they stand like this. Okay, they do big lat pull downs and they stand like this. Okay, and then they can't do things like overhead or anything like that because the shoulders are restricted. So I mean, if I did this now, if I rounded my shoulders so you could see, and then you try and lift your arms above your head, it just doesn't work. So if you're practicing push-ups and bicep curls and things like that, and you're creating that posture change, which you will do on a very, very minor basis, okay, so it's not necessarily seen that these things are changing within your body, and they're not very painful, but variety of movement allows your joint range to stay as big as it can be, which gives your body choices. Okay, when your body's got choices, you're not likely to get injured. Okay, so the second question is, why do I have weak glutes? Okay, so Jan wants to know why she has weak glutes. Well, that tightness that I was talking about, that range of movement change that I was talking about, joint position change, things like that, created by muscle tightness, in my experience, is what creates weak glutes. Okay, so if I'll stand up and show you. If the insides of my thighs and my hip flexors, so kind of this line here, gets tight, what happens is my knees rotate towards each other. And like I said, it can be very, very minor. You might not even notice it's happening. Okay. As a consequence, my toes will turn out, okay? So if my knees want to sit in like this, then my brain doesn't want me to be walking like this, pigeon-toed. So it tries to turn me back out again by rotating my lower leg. That gives me a twist in my knee and leads to all sorts of calf problems, knee problems, things like that. Also leads to a lot of low back pain, okay? But the effect of having that rotation inwards is that everything through the front here gets really tight, okay? So down the inside here gets very tight and short, okay? As a consequence of that, everything from the outside here gets very long, okay? Now, if I stand up straight and just relax, if I put my finger inside my glute, okay, so just press your finger into your glute like that, and then move your foot backwards. Don't try and engage your glutes at all, just do it. move it backwards like this, you'll soon find that your glutes start engaging, okay? They start firing because you're doing something that makes them shorten. But if I lean forward, so I'm lengthening my glutes as equivalent of that rotating inwards, and I try and move my leg backwards, I might be able to feel my glutes fire, but they're not firing as strong, okay? And since the test for weak glutes is laying on a table and lifting your leg in the air, when your pelvis is tilted forwards or your knees are rotated inwards and they're pulling your glutes into a longer position, then the firing strength that the therapist can feel is a lot less than it would be if they weren't pulled long, okay? But in my experience, it always pays to lengthen the short muscles first and then try and strengthen the supposed weak muscles, because when you redress the balance of the length tension, so one is short and tight, the other is long and tight, when you redress that length balance, then you find that the strength restores and you don't necessarily have to dive in with the clams and the bridges and all that kind of stuff to deal with it. Okay, so I hope that helps, Jan, and I'm going to show you an exercise now that's really, really useful in terms of getting the insides of your thighs really open and helpful in terms of lengthening that short position. Okay, so if you sit down a lot, if you cycle a lot, if you're at a computer a lot or driving a lot, anything like that, they're all generally all sitting down, and will tighten the hip flexors, tighten the adductors, especially if you're driving, because you can do this quite a lot and straighten out and do this quite a lot. So all that kind of action will create the tightness through your adductors, okay? So I'm just going to kneel down to do this. You could do this standing up if you like. It will have a different impact in different positions. So going back to that variety stuff, okay? Always do things differently as much as you can, okay? So all I'm going to do to start with is put one foot, I'm just kneeling down. If that's uncomfortable for you, stick a cushion underneath there, or do this standing up to start with. And then keeping your hips square, just put your knee out to 90 degrees or wherever it feels comfortable. So it could be slightly in front here. If that feels like it's stretching here, that's absolutely fine. And it could be a bit further back. Again, if it feels like it's stretching here, that's the point, okay? But we shouldn't be in a position that is more than comfortably uncomfortable, okay? So your brain needs to feel nice and comfortable, it needs to feel relaxed in the fact that you're not going to hurt yourself if you move from there, okay? So nice and slow, all I'm going to do is take my hips forwards and backwards. I'm putting my hands on my hips so you can see what I'm doing. You don't have to do that. You can do all sorts of things with your upper body to help with this movement, okay? So if you can't quite feel the movement or the sensation in here or down here, then do something different with your upper body, okay? You could lean sideways like this, you could rotate away like this, you could do all sorts of different things with your upper body, but keep the movement of your hip nice and slow, nice and relaxed, almost like you don't even care you're doing it, kind of the speed of rocking a baby to sleep, okay? So once you've done that a few times, take your hips into a position where they feel like the stretch is happening, so whether it's here or here, doesn't matter right now. And then we're just going to take that sideways, okay? So I'm not driving this movement from my knee, I'm not bouncing it, I'm trying to take my hip that way, and then all the way that way as well, okay? So I can feel a length through here, side to side, and then we can rotate around. So we can go around in circles, or we can go in a figure of 8, or we can just rotate one side, then the other. Where you move to from here is entirely up to you. It really doesn't matter. We're trying to get this muscle here to move in as many different ways as it can. And you thinking about different ways of moving your hips is a perfect way to get into all the areas that you would never even think of if you had to try and do it, if you had to try and plan how you're going to do it, okay? So don't forget about what you're trying to do with your adductors. Just think about where your hips are moving and the different directions you can take them in, okay? So just quickly do the other side, otherwise we'll be wonky, and that's not helpful for anyone, okay? So just forwards and backwards, nice and gently. Remember, comfortably uncomfortable as a maximum, please. No holding your breath, no pulling funny faces, anything like that. And then just go side to side, when you feel like you've done enough. There's no counting, there's no holding, there's no none of that, because if we were to hold these positions for a specific number of seconds, like 30 seconds for example, there's nothing to say that your body would release within that 30 seconds. It might take 35, it might take 40, and if you stop at 30, then you may as well not have bothered, because, well, it won't have released anyway. So let's just go around in circles, and then go around the other way. And if you want to do your little figure of 8, you can even put some music on and have a bit of a dance if you like. It really doesn't need to be serious, because you're not doing anything that's going to cause you any pain. Okay, it's very, very important that we stay away from pain. Alright, so like I said, if you find that uncomfortable to kneel down, then just do it standing up. So make sure you go, click the link in the description to get your free video. There's a whole playlist that you can get with low back pain inside your free mostmotion account. There's also an adductor playlist, which is the inside of your thigh. There's hip flexors 5 ways. There's calf pain stuff. There's all sorts in there. Okay, so click the link in the description, and don't forget to come back and let me know how you're getting on. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again live in smartfolks.com at 1 p.m. Thursday.